We have an amazing session coming up, and I'm so pleased that you have made the decision to be right here, right now. We're in the mood for some mission and some vision and some inspiration. It's going to be awesome. I want to take 1 minute to briefly introduce myself, and then I'll introduce these wonderful panelists that are going to come up. My name is Matt. I'm part of the team that runs Oracle Global Startup Ecosystem. We have a booth upstairs, and if you want to come and chat to us, also get a free headshot. Always a good idea, and you're all looking beautiful. So today is the day. Come and get your headshot. We have a cloud platform, and we support startups at every stage, and we would love to tell you a bit more about it. Right, on to the main event. It gives me great pleasure to introduce these wonderful panelists. I'm going to go with no particular order, but they might come up in a particular order. Amali de Alwis, CEO of Code First Girls. We have Kike Oniwinde, founder and CEO of BYP Networks. Reece Chowdhry, who's going to lead the show here, founder and CEO of RLC Ventures, and Tony Waller, partner at CMS. Please show your appreciation. Massive round of applause. Let's lock in. Get ready to go.
So good afternoon, everybody. I realize we've got the desk slot just in between your hunger for lunch, so we'll keep it short and sweet, and our panelists will do that. But first of all, I would just like the panelists to give a very, very brief introduction on themselves before we kick off into the session itself. So Tony, do you want to start?
Thanks a lot. My name is Tony Waller. I'm a partner at CMS. I'm one of the founders at CMS of our Equip program. CMS Equip is about CMS as an international law firm supporting up to 100 of the best startups that we can find out there in the market. Currently supporting 73 companies on the program. We've done, over the course of the last 4 years, more than 60 fundraisers at A round and above. And currently I'm working on our 4th exit, so really enjoying the market.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Amali de Alwis. I'm the chief exec of Code First Girls. So we focus on getting women into tech, which means that we run coding courses, we work with companies, we run tech talent workshops, we do advisory work, we do training workshops with corporations. And all of that is around how do we create more inclusive, more supportive environments for different people from different backgrounds and enable them to actually get some of the skills to allow them to do that. Over the last 4 years, we've delivered about £6 million worth of free coding education. So if you're a young woman, early stage career, so late teens, early 20s, you can come and learn to code for free. We also do a lot of work with companies, people like BT, Vodafone, Goldman Sachs, around supporting them with their talent diversity as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Kike Oniwinde. I am the founder and CEO of BYP Network. We connect black young professionals with each other in corporations. So we tend to have about 30,000 members in 65 countries. And we work with companies like Soho House, Airbnb, and Accenture. Essentially, I started it about 2 years ago because of my background. So I was a Great Britain javelin thrower who was also very academic. And I tended to be the only black person in the room in like investment banking internships, etc. And I felt like there was a real problem where companies couldn't seem to find the talent that they're looking for. So that's why I started a company to basically find all the talent in the UK and the world to have it all on one platform for companies to tap into.
Thank you. And my name is Reece Chowdhry. I'm the founder and CEO of RLC Ventures. We're an early stage venture capital firm based just in Victoria, actually, so it wasn't a long walk. We have backed around 30 companies in about 3 years. We're on our 2nd fund now, and we primarily have a founder base of diverse origins, so that's a very pregnant topic for me. And the way we try to be mission-driven is we give a percentage of our carry profits back to causes of our founders' choice. So we backed charities like Cancer Research UK and Mind. So it's a very topical subject for everyone at RLC Ventures. But let's dive straight into the panel. And the first question to our panelists is, what are the benefits and challenges that a mission-led company might face compared to one that isn't explicitly so? So that might be about, is it harder to generate revenue, get funding, build client base? So who would like to take that one? Tony, do you want to start quickly?
Sure, I'll go ahead. So I think it's fair to say that you're not alone if you're looking to build a mission-led company. Last time people ran accounts of mission-led businesses or businesses that claimed to be mission-led, there was some 123,000 businesses in the UK that claim to be mission-led, generating over 165 billion in revenue. So this is a happy market where you are able to be supported by a wide range of businesses who have done this before you. You are not alone. There are multiple ways to build a mission-led business. I think I look at this perhaps from quite a technical perspective, and we can talk about some of those structures in due course, but it's not just about being a charity. There's much you can do beyond just being a charity, and these guys are great examples of that. And maybe I should let them talk about how they built their businesses.
Yeah, I think continuing on from that, we have a mission, we have a belief in how we want to add value to the world, but when it comes to the conversations that we go and have with our clients, I need to offer them something which is of value to them as well. So think really hard about your business proposition, think about your value proposition, think about your customers' issues. Because when I go out to a competitive tender, they may listen to me in that they'll invite me to talk to them because we do a good thing. That's not why we win business. We win business because we offer a product which is at a great price point, which is effectively done, which helps people solve some sort of problem. So really, keep your mission as a way to keep yourselves honest, but don't let that, I guess, take your eye off the fact that you need to run a business which is also a sustainable business like any other else.
I think I'll start with the benefits. It's your passion. The reason you're starting the company is because you believe in something and you're kind of led by that versus the money. So when I started BYP Network, I was just in my room. I wasn't part of the startup ecosystem. I just saw a problem that needed to be solved. And then off the back of that, it really grew. There was a lot of press and PR because of the mission that we wanted to change the black narrative and the current conversation with diversity and inclusion being such a big topic. And from the back of that, that's where we were able to kind of understand the business model and the revenue model, which then also led to some funding. So it's kind of like if you lead by your passion and purpose, that can come. But at the same time, you do need to have all that kind of set, the revenue model, because investors will want to know your cash flow forecast, for example. I guess the negative side can be the fact that people might assume that you should be a charity or tap into the CSR budgets, which isn't necessarily the case, and it's more about having to explain to people that actually there's a huge market in this, that we're about to get a lot of talent onto one platform to benefit your company, and it's not just a CSR, this is benefit to you. So it is about the story and being able to explain that, but ultimately, if you are mission-led, you'll be fine.
And just touching on that point, we were talking before the panel about how funding and mission kind of works together, and you were telling a very good story about how, because you stuck to your mission, you were actually it was quite easy for you to raise your pre-seed round. So is it something that you think that founders should be focused on from the start, and that's to all the panelists, and will it help them attract funding, do you think?
Yeah, 100%, because again, I didn't go into it thinking, okay, I'm trying to make, billions of pounds, but at the same time, there was a clear path of how that could be the case. With BYP Network, we won a lot of competitions. So we got backed by Sky as kind of future leaders in technology, New Entrepreneurs Foundation and Founders Forum as well, all within the same week. So we won about £40,000. And then off the back of that, loads of investors came to me to say they wanted to invest in the company. So it's kind of like if I never led with that mission or the story of why I started it, maybe that wouldn't have happened. So I think people shouldn't be put off about having a mission-led company because your passion will keep you going versus just chasing the money.
Anyone else? Anything else to that?
So I was just going to add, in terms of when you're thinking about building your business, one of the things that strikes me that happens quite a bit with founders who do have a passion, who do have a desire to build mission into their business, is that it's too easy to have a tendency to think, I should come up with some complicated structure. And quite often you see people sort of trying to say, if we build it, they will come. And actually, what you can end up doing is tying yourselves in knots. There is lots you can do with simple corporate structures. You don't need to go down the route of necessarily tying yourself up on day one to a particular structure. The things that people do, just to give you a feel for it, is that they, simple things like they say, we're going to make sure that a proportion of our profits are always dedicated to a particular charity, or always dedicated to a particular purpose. And you can build that into your constitution without actually needing to come up with a really funky structure or an interesting business structure that is going to be hard to explain to investors down the line. My constant piece of advice to founders is, in relation to this and many other things they do in their business, is keep it simple. Keep it simple for yourself, keep it simple for the business, people you're dealing with, your customers, keep it simple for potential investors in the future. But there's still lots you can do in that simplified structure.
Right. And Code First Girls, you were structured as a CIC, that's right? So the reasoning behind that, and has that what the benefits, drawbacks potentially, and what is a CIC for people that don't know it?
So CIC is a community interest company. So this is, I guess, what when we talk about a social enterprise, this is one of the common, types of structures that you talk about. It has been both a benefit, but it also has challenges as well. So the one thing is around, you've got to understand what the limits of these different corporate structures are. So as a Kike, we have certain tie-ins about what we can do with our revenue. So for example, if we were to liquidate the company, we can't take that money out ourselves as whether it's founders or directors, that money needs to go to another Kike or another charity. So there are certain limits. You can do some bonuses, you can offer some dividends, even though we choose to operate as a not-for-profit, and you don't have to as a Kike. That's part of what is there as a CIC structure. And I think almost continuing on from that previous point, you can be mission-led in any type of company. You can be mission-led as a limited company, as a Kike, as a charity, as an LLP, however you want to look at that. But do think about what type of business you want to build, because that might then take you down a certain path and open some doors and close some to you. Certainly as far as our revenue generation, being a Kike has been beneficial to us. So it allows us to go and do client work like any other limited company. So a Kike is a type of limited company, albeit with some tie-ins. And it also means that whilst that, in our instance, we can't offer those tax benefits to companies as a charity would, it is something where when we have those conversations, especially with big companies, when they know that they are getting not only a market competitive service, a good delivery from a company who cares about their client, and extra brownie points is that your revenues then get plugged into doing further good outside of that. That's been a really compelling proposition for us to be able to go out to those companies with.
Win-win for everyone in that case. And moving on to our next question is, how might startups and scale-ups incorporate good social practice without necessarily being defined as mission-led? So Kike, why don't you start?
Kike.
We were talking about this before, culture and mission-led stuff.
So for me, it's just having the values from the get-go. So even if you're building a company that has nothing to do with mission-led, it is just maybe a product to help other companies be more efficient. It's about having the values internally. So it might be little things like not having plastic cups because you care about the ocean, or ensuring that from when you're hiring from a diverse set of people from the get-go. But it's about knowing that from the start. You don't want to kind of get to maybe 100 employees and then look around and be like, oh my God, we need to do some drastic changes. It's about kind of having those values. Okay, yes, we're making money and we're building our company, but we care about the world. We care about the impact that we're making. So I just believe it's, again, you don't have to be mission-led if that's not what you want to do, but having the values within your internal structure. And also putting that externally as well. So if your customers know about some of the things that you support, that actually drives even more customers because they're like, oh, that company actually cares about the ocean, or they care about diversity, and that can actually impact your company for the better.
Yeah, I just echo a lot of those points. Little steps and start early. I remember going to see Roy Singham talk, who was the founder of ThoughtWorks, and he talked about this conflict between us as people who are running startups, running companies, and accepting the fact that whilst we often want to do good, the fact that we operate also does some harm. So whether that's come to terms with the fact that our environmental impacts, whether that's societal impacts, so it's almost just to kind of bear that in mind as you operate, which is, in the operations that I'm doing, are there ways to do less harm? Are there ways to just make that little incremental change and build that into part of the thinking of the culture of your company so that everyone is actually thinking about that whenever they operate, which is, how do we do this better? How do we do this in the way that adds to the world rather than just takes away?
I'd add, I think I'm sort of embellishing on things that these guys have said, but one of the things I would say that has worked well in startups that I've seen who've wanted to be mission-led is where the founder has given up that mission to others in the organization, who's allowed them to own it too. So you need to be challenged on your mission all the time. There will be tough times. There'll be times when you have to make some really hard decisions if you're going to stick by your principles, if you're going to stick to.
And you gave a great example before about the cash.
Cash, cash is clearly king, and people worry. It's a constant worry for startups. But what happens when that potential customer turns up at the door, waving a big fat check, and they're the one customer you thought you would never deal with? You promised yourself you'd never deal with, but you're comparing that against nothing. Do you take it? Do you not? Build people around you who are going to support you, who are going to help you make the right decisions, because all your other customers who come before may well have come to you because you're not dealing with that kind of organization, because you're not employing that kind of supplier. This is, these are important things that you need to build into your day-to-day organization, the tribe around you, the people who support you, your family. Let them know that you want them to support you in that mission, and make it someone's job to do it.
And just to add to that, I think, really, it's almost continuing on what you mentioned earlier, Anthony. Even as a mission-led company, how you generate revenues and who benefits from your revenues can sometimes be different things. And what I mean by that is, for Code First Girls, for example, we have our community side of the business and we have our commercial side of the business. They cross over at a number of points. But also there are times when, for example, we do commercial activities which aren't to do with, driving diversity around women. So we might just go and write a transaction, or we'll deliver a coding course at a company. It's for men and women. It's for people of different levels. It's not necessarily supporting diversity directly in the activity, but the revenues from that then get plugged back into running the free courses that we run, running the free events, the training programs that we run for younger women. So really thinking quite, creatively about, how do you want to structure that business, and where does that mission kind of benefit, and where does that kind of come from?
Great. And we're going to have one last question quickly, and then we'll hopefully get through a couple of the questions, because I know there's a few rattling about there. So what resources are available for someone looking to build a mission-led company, and what advice would you give them before they do it, basically?
Okay, shall I start that?
Tony, start, yeah.
So I think there's lots and lots of information out there to help you. Probably where I'd start, though, is with your peers. So talk to your peers. What have they done? How have they built businesses? What has worked for them? There are lots of other people, as I say, out there who are building mission-led businesses. Ask someone in front of you how they did it. If you can't do that, there's lots on the web. One of the resources I found quite helpful is a US-focused B Corp organization that I'm sure many in the room have heard about. B Corps started in the US. Businesses all across the world are starting to adopt the policies and principles of a B Corp. We don't have B Corps here officially, although you can be one, but you can't incorporate one from a legal sense. But there's lots on the website about B Corps that can help you understand how to run the business, the principles you should apply, etc. The other thing I would say, which is homegrown, that has been very useful, a couple of years ago, in response to the government's report on mission, they put out a proposal called Purposely. Purposely is about how you help limited companies structure themselves in a way that can be done for good. And the government, quite smart about it, they came up with 4 different models, starting with very light. It's a light touch. If you want to do some good, then you can, but there's nothing in your organizational structure that's binding you to do it, through to something that looks much more like a charity, where there's an asset lock built into the limited company structure, and grades in between. Really useful stuff, really useful guidance, and something that actually, if you're talking to an advisor, you can point them to and say, actually, this is the kind of thing I'd like to try and achieve.
Yeah, and there are some other great organizations, so people like Social Enterprise UK, who actually offer advice for companies which are looking to operate or are operating as social enterprises. There are lots of free resources out there, so we actually made use of organizations like Trust Law, who offer free legal advice for not-profits and charities, so to help us with when we were having some queries about, can we take on, for example, people who are being processed as refugees? Can we bring them on board doing internships, work experience, those types of things? So lots of different things that you can kind of tap into. And I think just from an organizational level, and I think this is has been particularly helpful for us, I think, as a social mission company. We ran a human-centered design workshop really, really early on to really pin down what is our mission and then everything can hang off that. So trying to understand what are we trying to achieve in the world, and then to think about what are the 101 different ways that you can do that, and then select which are the most appropriate considering what we had as time, strategy, money, resources, human resource. So to really think very carefully about how do you pick that one mission which will keep you honest and be your religion as you sort of create everything else around it.
Can we park your answer just so we get one question in before we go? So quickly, quick fire. Where did you get the inspiration for your companies? Really quick.
Really quick. So again, my inspiration came from my background. So I was actually at the University of Florida on a full track and field scholarship, and I wasn't performing the way I wanted to perform. And as an athlete, you're very inwardly focused. You're not really thinking about anything else. You're very selfish. It's about you and your performances. But when I was out there, I was able to see more than just my performance, and meet so many talented individuals that made me feel like, okay, if we connected as a community around the globe, maybe we can solve some of our own problems. So at this time, Black Lives Matters was happening, police brutality, knife crime, diversity inclusion in workplaces. There was so much negative press and news, and I knew that I knew a lot of talented individuals, that this doesn't have to be the narrative that's portrayed on the community. So it was at that moment that I decided, okay, well, I need to do something about it, because who will? So that was the moment it happened, and everything just led from there to where we are.
Thank you. I think we're just about to run out of time, but the panelists might be around afterwards for a couple of questions. I've got to dash off to the Q&A stage, shameless plug, so if you want to come and see me on the Q&A stage, I'll be talking about how you can build a global startup from the start. So thank you very much to my panelists for an excellent conversation, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and have a nice lunch.